I would like to welcome everybody to today's Nonprofit Resource Hub fundraising workshop powered by Retention, tips for getting your donors and selling out your events. My name is Allison LaFerlita. I'm the Executive Director for the Nonprofit Resource Hub. We are really happy to have you with us today. And just so you know, today's webinar, you can expect to learn strategies to keep your donors coming back to support you, advice on how to assess if your organization is taking the right steps towards donor retention and keeping your events fresh, and tips on how to get creative with your audience and create enticing events people want to attend. So I think you're going to really come away with quite a bit of information. Before we get started, I would like to just do a few quick housekeeping notes. If you're not familiar with the Nonprofit Resource Hub, we are an association that provides support services and resources, just like this workshop, to you, our nonprofit organizations. It is free to join if you are a nonprofit organization. So if you have not yet joined, I do encourage you to go onto our website and join as a nonprofit partner. If you have any questions, you are always welcome to reach out to me. We also have another great event going on next week. This was big demand from our conference back in November. Our nonprofits really wanted a digital marketing conference. So we are offering you that remotely by Zoom on Thursday, March 9th, between 11:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is free to attend. You do need to go to the Nonprofit Resource Hub website and register. And last note is, if you're unable to stay with us for the duration of today's presentation, we will be recording it, and the recording will be available to everybody by Thursday. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Darren Port, entrepreneur, fundraising strategist, nonprofit event management, and owner of Powered by Professionals, a fundraising company that offers charity event planning and management, including nonprofit fundraising. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the Nonprofit Resource Hub for hosting another webinar. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for attending today, and looking forward to sharing a lot of ideas that we've learned over the years, and also would love your feedback too. If you have questions, my Vice President of Development and Events, Allison Geisinger, is will be answering the chat. So if you have questions, you can send it to her. She can respond while I'm speaking. And then at the end, we can talk about some of the other ideas that may have come up that maybe I didn't touch on. Really quick on Powered by Professionals, we're a fundraising and event management firm. We've been around since 2002, 2001 even, we started. And we've helped over 100 different nonprofit organizations produce major fundraising events, from galas to run walks to concerts to runway shows to golf outings, any type of major fundraising event. And we've done that through helping nonprofits leverage the people connected to their organization and people connected to the people connected to them. So like, how do you expand that network, and how do you get more people passionate about what you're doing? So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about retention today. This is the most important part of any nonprofit, is the people, right? I was on the phone yesterday with someone. They asked me, how do we make our events better? And I was like, you don't just make your events better. You make your events better by getting the right people involved. So it's so critical to having the right people. If you don't have people to work around, it's very hard to grow an event. Okay, so we'll talk about donor retention. Entails engaging existing donors so that they continue to give to the organization each year. By doing so, you have to retain that donor. So what does that mean in English? The bottom line is, we want to figure out how to keep these donors coming back and coming back again. And why would they come back? What are you going to do to make them give to your organization again, as opposed to the next organization that approaches them? So let's talk more about that and see what we have. Okay. A major factor in long-term sustainability is of any in any charitable organization is their donor retention. How, when you're growing an event, and I've seen this, you have that first year, you have the event, you're like, this is amazing, how are we going to make it better next year? Well, the most important thing is, how do we get those same people to stay involved? And then how do we get new people on top of those people? Because if you're not getting the repeat business and the repeat customers, then you're going to be right back to where you started the first year. So, that's a very critical piece. A key metric that can help nonprofits measure and optimize their fundraising efforts is the kind of the repeat business that you're getting. It ensures that the existing donors remain engaged and continue making donations while new donors are attracted to the cause. Also, when new donors come to an organization, they want to see that there are existing donors involved and people who've been there a few years. That gives them more confidence that this is an organization that I should get involved with. Donors who have given before are more likely to donate again if their experience with the nonprofit was a positive one, and if they feel appreciated for their contributions. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and how to make a donor feel appreciated and what are things that you should be doing throughout the year to keep in touch and keep engaged with these donors. And studies show that nonprofits that focus on donor retention see a significantly higher return on investment than those that don't. Sometimes, like I was on the phone today, literally this morning, with a woman who was introduced to me through a doctor. It's a medical organization we're working with, and the doctor recommended this woman to get involved. She's been touched by the cause personally, and we want to get her involved as a co-chair of the event. And from that, what I realized is there's tons of money there, but I couldn't go right into it. So I really have to establish a relationship with her, get her involved in this first year event, and then over time build that rapport so that we can really monetize that opportunity, which we really can't do appropriately in the first year. So that's why, such a critical piece is building that rapport over time. The key to successful donor retention, well, like I say, and I will probably repeat this 100 times, is you got to build relationships and establish trust between the nonprofit organization and its supporters is essential in the order to retain support. There are various ways in which organizations can cultivate a lasting relationship with their donors. So we're going to talk about communication strategies, segmentation techniques, recognizing supporter achievements, providing updates on progress, offering incentives, and creating meaningful opportunities for engagement. One thing that's not in my presentation, but I do want to mention, is that important to, depending on what CRM solution you're using, you want to make sure that you're leveraging that and you're keeping it updated, especially with the key donors that you work with. And one of the things, before I really get too far into this presentation, is making sure you know one or two key things about that donor, something that really is important for them. It could be simply that their kids play soccer and are on travel teams, and it's a great thing to check in on during soccer season. Hey, how's everything going with your kids and the travel team? Or obviously birthdays and anniversaries are kind of the staple ones to go to. But I like to think about things that are not everyone's not asking about, and checking social media to make sure you're tracking how they're doing and seeing if anything big has happened in their lives, and you can check in. Because you've paid attention to what's happening around them. Just some thoughts before I forget. All right, so let's talk about communications strategies. Well, we want to stay in touch with your donors, very important. Create a well-crafted message strategy that demonstrates how individual donations make a difference. Now, this is more of a general comment that you're going to be sending out regularly to your donors, keeping them periodic updates about new projects, accomplishments, initiatives can also be powerful tools for reminding people why they continue to support your cause. So you want them to know what's happening with the organization. Any exciting news that you think is relevant, you want to share. You want to share it in an organized way. You don't want to share it too often, but when you share, you want to share something that is going to be impactful. It could be the hiring of 3 new people. It could be the results of a study that you were working on. It could be launching 2 new programs. It could be funding a research project, whatever it may be, or it's a major gift that came in that's going to help the organization fulfill its mission, or if there's an addition to what your mission is. So there's a lot of different things you can be discussing, and your donors want to know, and they want to be made to feel important. You cannot thank your donors enough. It almost seems annoying when you keep doing it, but you should keep doing it. Keep thanking them. You want to make sure that they're having fun, right? When they're when they're involved with your events. You see these people look like they're enjoying themselves at our events. Ask for feedback from your donors about their experiences with your organization. A lot of organizations will use surveys, which we highly recommend. It's great to let people who want to share their feedback, give them an opportunity to do so. And also you can learn some things that maybe you're not aware of. What I also recommend, outside of just sending a general survey, is reaching out on the phone to some of the more active volunteers, people who are honored or people who are on your board or your committees, and ask them, what did you think of the event? What worked for you? What didn't work? What are things that we could do better as an organization to make you feel more engaged? And then you want to also make sure when people are giving that there are easy ways to give. So now with technology the way it is now, people are giving through their phones, people are giving online, people can still give through a check if that's what they're more comfortable with. But you want to make sure no matter how they want to give, there's a way to do it and that it's really easy to do. Okay. So one thing that we're working on right now for a number of our spring and fall events is we have these kickoff events. And what we do with these events is an opportunity to bring together a small group of people, somewhere around, it could depend, anywhere from 2 to 5 months before the actual main event. And it's a way to really thank some of the key people, the long-term supporters, while also recruiting new members into the sphere of influence. So what we recommend is that the board members and or these key longer-term supporters can bring a friend to this kind of private event that we're having. We're doing one in advance of a walk that we're having, and we're doing it just 2 months before. So it's very soon before the main event, but we're actually inviting all the honorees who are going to be participating, giving them a chance to meet the board, giving them a chance to meet key donors so that they feel more connected to the organization right away. And then this would help them in their fundraising efforts leading up to the event. It gives us a chance to meet them. It's an excuse for us to get in front of them. And it's another excuse for us to get in front of our key donors, for us to chat with them, to reconnect, to build that relationship. You may want to invite some key sponsors. Like we did this another year, we had the top sponsor speak at the event for a minute, to say a few words and welcome everyone. It was a nice, a nice perk that we could give them. It makes people feel like they're a VIP. So that's a critical piece to any nonprofit is figuring out how to make your donors feel important. And then and you just build momentum. That that what I find is we'll leave that event and then we'll have for a run walk, for example, for that we'll have about 10 new teams signed up the next day, and then we'll have people calling, can you help me do this and you help me do that? And at that event, I usually speak and I will give them ideas that they're not thinking of. I will remind them of the ideas I probably shared with them already on how to engage their network. And then new people who are in the room might, it's a great opportunity for us to educate them about how they can make an impact. So kickoff events are very important. Could be hosted at a board member's home, could be hosted, we're having one at a country club. You could, a big donor who can support it, maybe at their company wants to host it, or a big sponsor. So these are all different ways to thank people while also engaging people. It comes down to identifying and cultivating leaders. So when we honor people, it's wonderful that we've got them to commit to being honored. And then, when identifying who to honor, creating that short list of key players and major donors for your organization, next fundraising event is essential. Who you can honor next year and who you're going to honor the year after. And when you honor them, how do you keep them involved, or how do you make them feel, again, important? These individuals should be identified in the beginning of an event planning process so that the organization can best address them and develop relationships with them in an appropriate manner. The more information you have on their backgrounds, the more you can build a meaningful relationship, understanding where they went to college, understanding their business a little bit better so that you can talk to them about things you heard in the news that might be relevant to their business. So it looks like you're actually learning and asking questions about their work. It's all about recognizing individual contributions, developing meaningful relationships, and openly driving more donations for your organization's mission and purpose. So as an example of the chairman of the board handing the award to the honoree that year, and that gentleman has stayed involved and been a sponsor of the event for the last 3 years since. So that's a critical piece, is how do you keep them involved? All right. So, segmentation techniques. Some examples include, so we got categorizing donors based on giving history or interest to ensure supporters receive personalized messages that resonate with them most. And this is really critical, is we have donors at all different levels, right? All different involvement, all different reasons that they are connected to your organization. So you want to make sure that the communication that you're doing is appropriate for who they are in relation to your organization. If they're young and they participate, but they don't really give large donations, there might be a different messaging that you want to have. And then certain people, who have given larger donations, they need maybe more hand-holding, maybe setting up a private meeting with the executive director or the chief development officer, so that you can go meet with them on a biannual basis or an annual basis, or usually not too much more often than that. But just a chance to make them feel important, and also make sure you update them on what's happening so they feel like their money is making a difference. Yeah, you want to recognize donors publicly unless you found out they don't want to be recognized publicly, and you can ask that. That's a fair question to ask. Thanking major donors through social media posts, and even hosting dedicated events in which they can be honored for their contributions are also great things to do as well. Okay. Yeah. Great engaging opportunities. This example, this picture is, we did an event for the University of Maryland. It was at Guastavinos in New York City, a big venue. And what we were able to do is get not only the mascot there, which is always fun for pictures, but we were able to get them to drive a bus up, this Terp Pride bus that talked about the different programs the university was doing. And so this was set up outside as people arrived and as people left. And during the event, people could go outside and check it out. And there was very cool things inside the bus. It was a very interactive bus that they had built out. You want to make sure supporters can participate in fundraising campaigns or special projects related to the mission statement, offering incentives such as exclusive access or discounts, and any opportunities that you can make your key donors feel even more important. What a great chance to do that. If there's an event that maybe they're not involved with, you say, listen, I'd love to invite you as our guest to this other event we have. No pressure. I'm not asking you for a donation, but I would love for you to see how the event works and what we're doing. It's a totally different feel, and you'll meet some of the other people involved with our organization and support us. So things like that, giving them discounts if they get, younger people like discounts. If they're trying to get friends involved, hey, if you get 10 people to sign up, we'll give you a free ticket to the event. And, or if you put a mailing list together, we'll give you this. Just things to get people to motivate people. If you're doing outside events, athletic events, sometimes there's loyalty programs. So you get, maybe there's some swag that you get if you actually are doing an event. If you reach a certain incentive level, you get certain swag, which is nice. So those are important components to create engaging opportunities. All right. You want to make sure you understand each donor's motivation is critical when it comes to fostering loyalty among supporters of your nonprofit organization. And we talked about this a little already. Why is that person involved? Are they involved because their company asked them to? Are they involved because they've been personally touched by the cause? Are they involved because they have friends that have been affected by this? What is motivating them to help? Was it you did an amazing job kind of convincing them how important the organization was, by talking to them about the impact it has on the community? Figuring out why they're there and how to keep them there is critical. Maybe it's they want to do more in the community, and they feel this might be a great entry point. They might actually be impressed with what your organization, the reputation your organization has. They might feel it helps them professionally. They may not tell you this. So it's trying to understand what the motivations are, and then to give them those things or help them feel like they're achieving those things, because that'll make them feel good about themselves. Giving them opportunities to share their stories about why they support your cause can be done through a newsletter, can be through, now with social media, so relevant and used so often. That's such a great way for you to let a donor kind of tell why they got involved or share their personal story. It definitely makes other donors see that there are people connected for reasons, which is nice, and it gives people an insight on how maybe why they should be more involved. And maybe why they should even give more. So some great content there to think about. Okay, so don't forget that donor retention isn't just about keeping current supporters happy. It's also about finding innovative ways to attract new ones. What I find at these events is leveraging the awards and the different roles within an event. I've talked about this on another webinar about, we have an organizational chart we create, and that enables us to find new people to fill roles within an event. And by doing that, if done effectively, you can get new people involved that have some connection to someone within your organization, and that gives you a launch point for their further and future involvement with the organization. You want to make sure you're developing compelling marketing materials and implementing creative strategies for your events. Leave a lasting impression on the events. Remember, this picture is from an event we actually did at the Cable Center in Denver, which was a very cool venue, just really unique venue. And sometimes by picking unique and different opportunities, people are interested in getting involved because of that even. And then how do you leverage the certain criteria or certain things that are available at that venue to make the event more compelling and make people feel like, they remember the event. So making sure that the budget is being spent in a smart way. So prices are astronomical right now to produce these events, which we all are seeing, and wherever you are and whatever events you're working on, it's hard to avoid. But sometimes before kicking off the event planning, review that budget, determine your needs and where you can cut back. Because if you can save some money in one place, maybe that energy, that money can either be used for the bottom line or can be reallocated and can create a budget for something that's more exciting, something that the audience will find interesting, the audience will find compelling, the wow factor, right? If you can create wow factor within your events, that can keep people happy and coming back for more. And you want people talking about your events. So really being smart with your budgets are a critical piece. From an entertainment standpoint, decor standpoint, everyone has different feelings on this. There's no right answer. Some people love to dress their events up and make them look unbelievably, gorgeous. And then others feel that that's excessive. And if they do that, then that's going to look like they're not putting the money towards the bottom line. So there's not necessarily a right answer here. I think it's figuring out what your organization's message is and figuring out what your leadership team wants to do. But being smart about it too, is not going over the top and coming up with creative, cost-effective ways to make your event more lively. And it could be a giveaway. I'm trying to see if I have specific examples to share. It could be a fun giveaway that you use, or something of that nature. It depends. Like I've had comedians, we've had bands, we've done a little of everything. It really depends on your audience, but really understand who the audience is before you just spend money on some kind of wow factor that doesn't really fit with your audience. So that's a critical piece. And sometimes you can leverage other components to give that wow factor. If it's the MC, or if it's a live auctioneer that has that kind of energy, or that, or if it's a celebrity who's able to come to the event even for an hour to shake hands, you can get away with some of that without necessarily spending a lot of money. And make your event fun. It's like, here you see myself and my team, or some people on my team at the Diabetes Research Institute event. This is, it's not a silly cause, but we just made it fun. Some fun things by the step and repeat. People have a few drinks. They want to have some fun pictures. Go beyond the traditional forms of communication to illustrate the impact of your cause. Create an interesting social atmosphere. And that can occur in a lot of different ways. Through your auction, through your the videos and the interaction that you use. What some people do on the tables, instead of a flower centerpiece, it could be books if your organization is in education, or it could be projects that the kids that you work with created. It could be something talking about progress in a field. If it's in medicine, it could be information there about medical progress. So, tying your mission into your decor can also be a cool and fun way to work. Another thing here that we've done at Run Walks, this is at an event we do in Chicago on the left, is that we've created this is a sunflower wall, we call it. Plant a sunflower in Brain Up's garden. And basically what they've done here is, this is for brain cancer research, and people can write notes and stick them on the wall, and give a chance for them to give their message to a loved one or talk about a loved one. And people really like it, and we have different ways and different things to do with that. It keeps people engaged. People sometimes come with pictures. We have another place that they can put pictures up of their loved ones. We help them if they're making signage for their teams. We can help them with their sign, and they can create their own signs, putting writing the names on bibs if it's a run walk, to connect others and share their common interests. They'll meet other people there while they're doing that and talk to them and share their stories. You want people to feel like, what you want them to come back. And if they have a personal experience, they're going to come back. Live music is fun. You just got to figure out if it's what the venue is, and if you're, and what your audience is looking for. Everyone's like, some people like have a dance floor, other people like don't have a dance floor. So figure out what your audience likes, where the music. We had an a cappella group the other night at an event, which was nice and unique. So there's just so many different things. We used to have the American Idol performers who lost in the last round or second to last round perform. And, people who used to watch that show, I don't know if people still do, but there's just different ways like that, how to leverage people that are maybe big on Instagram or on TikTok or whatever. There's new vehicles now to involve people and bring some energy to your event, even if it's at the end. So the people who, maybe the big donors who don't necessarily want that part, they can leave. And then the people who want to hang and have a good time can stay and enjoy that. Keep everybody happy. You want to just make sure this is good. Okay. Tell your story. A great way to engage attendees at your nonprofit events is by telling stories about how their donations are making a difference in the lives of those affected by your cause. So, you want to think through that and figure out how the best way to do that is. We do it through some of the awards that we give out, giving a chance through videos to kind of tell a story, and use stories that are going to motivate people and incentivize people. And kids obviously motivate people. So if you can figure out a way for people who have been through your program or who have been touched by your cause or your mission to get their voices heard, either directly on stage or through a video, is pretty important. The videos can be just so powerful, multimedia in any way, even if it's pictures and sound and music with it, or a voiceover telling the story through pictures. Find opportunity for guest speakers to tell their own stories, first-hand accounts of how the organization impacted them. Nothing's more powerful than programs that you produced and having someone there talk about how it changed their life. That's really what it comes down to. But also very, very important piece is do not do this over too long a period of time. Try to be concise, be smart about it, be impactful. Just try to do it in a condensed way. Present compelling evidence to back up the importance of your cause. By sharing facts of the impact your organization is having on others. Let's see here. We have incorporate technology. Technology, we're all doing this already. I think to some degree, there are so many new things that people can, sorry here, one second. There are so many things that people can incorporate into their events that, we work with. If you're working with a company like ours, ask us what we're seeing at other events. If you're not working with us and you're talking to, go to other events, see what other organizations are using, see what would be most appropriate for your organization. One thing that we're seeing is not only are they using these different online tools for their auctions, but we're really out leveraging the phone more. So what techniques and QR codes are so big right now. So you want to make sure you're leveraging QR codes at your events. Many organizations now offer these mobile apps that you can set up pages. There's just a lot of different techniques that can be leveraged. There's almost too many choices out there, so you got to do a little bit of homework. We're happy to have a call if you have questions. We can tell you some of the ones that we use that we find to be more effective. They all work to some degree. It's just some are just easier for, your donor experience is so critical. So please keep that in mind when you're doing this, and don't over complicate the experience, for your donors. And we've incorporated into everything from the raffle, the auction, to registration, to any type of gift during the live appeal as well. I had someone mention to me, they made us put our credit card information on a form, and we really didn't like that. I was like, okay, so that was feedback we received. So the next year, we're not going to have any forms. We're just going to have people walking around with iPads or phones and swipers, so that people can just give if they want to do it with a credit card that way. Or we'll have forms if anyone asks for one specifically, but you want to make sure you're listening to what your donors are asking. Virtual was huge, as I assume all of you had at one point or another got to experience over the last few years. It reached a broader audience. You may not be able to attend the event. We've seen less and less of it the last year or so, but you could stream the event on social media, so remote followers can tune in. It allows you to record content available to use live on your website or in the future. I think it's great, and I think it's something that should be leveraged to some degree, tied to your event. If it's not during your event, maybe it's post-event, that there's like a 5 or 10 minute recap of your event. So those who are not able to attend could at least see what it was like. And then if you have enough interest, we have some of organizations that have younger crowds that are spread out around the country. We were able to incorporate a virtual event going on while we had a live event. So there was a separate component. We streamed them in for one component of the event. So there's a lot of different ways to leverage that as well. The wrap up, here we go. Donor retention is essential for creating a base for your charity and achieving lasting ongoing support. There are many tips and recommendations on how to accomplish donor retention. So it's more of a matter of carving out the time and delegating the tasks for your charity to successfully implement these methods. What I'll say on that point is that there are so many. We all know we're supposed to be doing this, but it's so hard to do. One thing that I find, what we see with a lot of organizations is they're like, listen, we know how to do the event. We could do that ourselves. It's like, oh, that's great. But how much time does it take? What happens is these events suck so much of your time, and they bring in so many members of your team that the members of your team, especially on your development team, stop doing the stuff they're supposed to be doing, like donor retention, which is so critical to the long-term success of your organization. So sometimes outsourcing to an organization like us or to other event companies can sometimes save your donors and enable your donors to get more attention, which is really the most important part. One thing I didn't mention, I wanted to mention, when you're having these events, is you want to also make a list of who's attending the event. And when I say that, I mean like a short list of maybe 10 or 20 key donors that are attending the event, possibly a picture, a short message about them, and enabling them to and then assigning a board member or two to kind of go meet the different people at the event. So like really personalizing everything. This is a huge event, but bring it down into individual conversations, making sure people are actually saying hi to the right people in the room. And if you, as the executive director or chief development officer or someone on the team, you see there's a key donor in the room, you want to bring one of your board members over, the founder over. You want to make sure they get a chance to talk to that donor and share why they're so passionate about it. Hopefully their passion can lead and roll over into that individual and get them more excited. By keeping donors engaged and bringing creativity into your events, guests will leave with a lasting impression. They'll have successfully made your charity stand out as a reputable organization, an important cause that people feel good to support. We do have questions. You are more than welcome to reach out to me or Allison. I have Allison sending me text messages, so I keep looking down. I apologize. You share a story of something you find was surprising, benefiting getting donors to make donations on site at the events over and above what they paid for their tickets. So one of the things that we did that was interesting, is that we were able to get this family involved, and they brought their family in from out of town. And at the event, they got engaged with the auction. They got excited about the auction and what this enabled to do. Not only did they get engaged with the auction, and we started to get to know them better. We were talking to them around the auction. We figured out the industry that the gentleman was in, and it was tied to the industry of the organization that we were working with. So we were able to make introductions for that out-of-town guest to people in his line of work because we knew our donors better. So that was like a way of incorporating family, leveraging the auction to get them more involved, and then in connecting them to other people within the organization. So this is a question about building. I'm just looking at questions that people who are here asked. We decided to work with a company like yours. You think you're spending so I think for smaller organizations, the thing that I would say is the most critical piece to anything is you've got to get the right people. Build your board appropriately. Figure out if there is someone who can champion a new event. You cannot do an event unless you have someone who's going to kind of be the champion on that event. You need the foundation for anything. So if maybe it's 5 people that you've identified, you say, listen, get those 5 people, take them to lunch, say we're going to create a new event and we're going to do it around the 5 of you. You are going to be our founders of this event. Make them feel important and give them an opportunity. Don't try to do too much that first year. Do it so you can be successful. The last thing you want to do is try to spend too much money and then not be able to deliver on what you're promising. Try to overpromise, sell out. It's okay if you sell out. It's not the worst thing in the world. And then build the second year and try to get more people into that kind of foundation base. So I think it's very critical to have those go-to people. Sometimes it's a very wealthy family and you can build around them that are incredibly passionate, or it's someone with an enormous network. And if they're committed, you can just build the whole event around that family. And as you get larger, you need to have more families, but you need that one initial group that gets you off the ground. So we do, someone was asking about if we offer smaller packages of our services, because we do a lot of our clients produce larger events. So our fees can get pricey for smaller nonprofits, but we are putting together a new package for smaller nonprofits that will enable them to leverage our experience and do most of it on their own. We'll help them create materials, and we're going to give them coaching like 1 hour a month so that they can ask us questions, and then they can work with the materials we created and do it themselves at a much less cost, not really leveraging our team extensively. So we can talk to you about that if you're interested. I really appreciate all of you calling in. If there are other questions, do not hesitate to use the chat or to reach out directly. We wanted to give you back 15 minutes of your day. So Allison, I am wrapping up. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Darren. That was really helpful and very informative. And I appreciate that you are giving everybody some time back. If anybody on this call does have additional questions for Darren, please do not hesitate to reach out to him or his company. There are plenty of services that they are able to provide and offer to you that will help you in your fundraising efforts.
Also, one thing
yes.
just I wanted to say is that I would really strongly encourage you to attend some of the nonprofit resource hub events, because we had an event recently at the Children's Museum, which was unbelievable. First, it was great to be there as to visit one of the nonprofits that we work with, and then to get a chance to communicate with the different members, to better understand what they need help with, answer questions, and then also just get to know them better. So it was very impactful. So thank you, Allison, for setting that up.
Thank you. So yes, you are always welcome to a nonprofit resource hub event. I would say the majority of them are free of charge to you, our nonprofit organizations, as long as you're a nonprofit partner. Darren, I want to thank you again. And I would like to remind everybody there will be a recording available by Thursday. If you have any questions about the nonprofit resource hub, you are certainly always welcome to reach out to myself or Kelly Ann Serini. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And please be sure to register if you're not registered with us as of yet. Thanks again, Darren. Have a great day, everybody.